1 month after Reverend, the world felt strangely quiet. The smoke of revolution had thinned, but for Hyperium, peace was never more than an interlude. They drifted once more to their separate paths. Lorcas to family, Roseo to the ghosts of Reverend, and Nozo, alone into the wilds, chasing whispers of a girl named Asaki and the long shadow of Crocus's cult. In the corners of taverns and the edges of campfires, Nozo began to hear another name, Veldrin. A dark elf spoken of in half-finished sentences and unfinished prayers. Rumors of old cult bases, of lingering underlings of Crocus, and the faintest suggestion that Asaki might have been seen near those same scars upon the world. Veldrin, if you're tied to her, I will find you. The threads all pointed in one direction, back to Hyperium. He called them together again. The three stood once more in Waterdeep, older, heavier with what they'd done, and what they still must do. Their first stop was Lord Alexander Splendor, the aging Lord of Waterdeep, benefactor of Hyperium, and the man who had first sent them into the world after Wish Embers. They laid out what they had found, scraps of cult activity, whispers of Veldrin, the strange pattern of embers resurfacing. Lord Splendor listened in silence. His gaze drifted to maps old and worn, to records of wars long past.
Veldrin was not always a monster. Once he was tame. A Serenity Knight, sworn to peace after the Four-Nation War.
The old lord rose, walking toward the great tapestry of the Asha that hung across the hall. He brushed a hand along the woven threads as if recalling a memory best forgotten.
But serenity is a fragile thing. In time, he rebelled, left the Order, abandoned peace, and forged his own path, a conqueror in the shadows of nations.
His voice lowered.
He wielded an Earth Wish Ember, and runes older than any kingdom. With them, he sealed Zarella, the fire goddess, into the world's core, and sank an entire island beneath the sea to finish the war upon it.
The room fell silent.
20 years ago, he was finally overwhelmed. The heavens themselves intervened. He was taken, sealed away in Mount Celestia. But power like his never sleeps. If the embers return to him, he will break from that prison, and the Asha will burn for it.
Hyperium left the hall with more questions than answers, so they sought another voice, Queen Anna Montaveret. They brokered an alliance between Montaveret and Splendor, two crowns now bound by a common fear. If Veldrin's hand reached the Wish Embers, the gods themselves could be unmade. While royals traded letters in sealed pacts, Hyperium's journey carried them west across the waves to Zelzabar, to a place once broken and now rising again. New Arcivis stood on the coast like a city reborn, built by the survivors of the fallen Sky Metropolis and by others who came to help rebuild. It rose from the shoreline in brass and steam, gears turning, pipes hissing, towers half-finished, yet full of ambition. But the wounds of the tragedy were still carved into the new land. Twisted metal from the original fall that once laid scattered beneath the waves, now used to prop up its new city. The new foundations were built atop memories stained with sorrow. Roseo stepped forward, the roar of steam blending with the quiet ache in his chest.
They rebuilt, even after everything I caused.
Roseo, you know you didn't mean for that to happen.
Well, meaning isn't gonna bring back the dead.
The wind shifted, carrying both the scent of progress and the echo of the dead. New Arcivis lived, but it lived at the behest of the tragedy that birthed it. Weeks passed. Among letters, spies, and ancient records, Lord Splendor noticed a pattern. 4 embers. Fire, water, air, earth. The elemental heart of the world. If Veldrin could gather them all, he could tear his way back to the mortal plane from Mount Celestia and reach for godhood itself. So Splendor summoned Hyperium back to Waterdeep. Back in their meeting chamber, Lord Splendor told them all he knew.
We must move before he does.
Okay. How many does he have?
The earth is already his own. The air and fire are unknown. But the water ember, I might have a clue.
He then pulled a dusted book, a diary dating to his great-great-grandfather.
There is a passage in here that speaks of a normal citizen, possessed by a hunger for power and with an unprecedented skill in water. He began to shake nations near Waterdeep until one day he vanished.
He spoke of a single line that might have hinted to a final resting place somewhere in the Taylola Ocean. Their path led them to the vast, rolling expanse where storms rose without warning and the depths seemed bottomless. They sailed for weeks, guided by half-legends and Splendor's only clue, until something answered. A pulse beneath the waves, a call not of sound, but of power. Far below the surface, they found it. An ancient, half-buried temple of stone and coral, its entrance flanked by worn carvings of waves and weeping faces. Inside, the air was still and cold. Salt and time had eaten at the walls, but the runes still glowed faintly, lines of power traced by a careful hand. At the heart of the chamber, upon a dais of carved sea rock, rested a skeleton in tattered robes, bowed over as if in final prayer. Before it, sealed in shimmering wards, floated the water wish ember. Lorcas stepped forward, eyes running over the carved stone and faded sigils. These aren't random. This whole room is a trial and a warning. The inscription told a story. A mage named Maros Tidescribe, who once walked beside a friend granted the water ember. A friend whose wish had twisted his mind, turning mercy into tyranny, kindness into control. Maros, heartbroken, had been forced to destroy him. Haunted by what the ember could do, he hunted it across his lifetime until it resurfaced and brought it here, sealing it behind runes that only those with resolve and understanding could break. Even in death, Maros Tidescribe knelt before the ember as if to hold back the world from repeating his tragedy. Unsealing it was not a matter of brute force. It was a test of who they had become. Lorcas traced the old sigils with the tip of his rapier, filling in the missing logic in Maros' spellwork, correcting a sequence of runes with the precision of a detective who sees all the threads at once. Nozo drew the blade of the Damned One and held it aloft. The aura of the sword revealed spectral chains of regret wrapped around the ember. With one silent strike, he cut through the lingering echo of Maros' guilt. Roseo reached out with the mech ember. Gears of shimmering force formed around the seal, diverting the wild flow of water magic into ordered channels until the protective shell simply released. The water ember floated free, shining with a deep, ocean blue glow. For a moment, none of them spoke. Roseo stepped toward the skeleton and bowed his head.
Maros Tidescribe. We'll make sure no one ignorant of its cost holds this again. Your watch isn't in vain.
They took the ember, not as conquerors, but as heirs to a burden passed down through centuries. In the months that followed, plans formed. Whispers rose of a coming gathering, the Butterfly Reverrie, a grand council of kings and queens to be held in 5 months' time in Vishjahal, far to the south in Zelzabar. There, they would present what they'd learned of Veldrin, of the elemental pattern, of the danger to their world. Those months were not idle. Roseo and Queen Anna met often, ostensibly to coordinate escort routes, political optics, and how best to present the Ember and its dangers to the other rulers. But beneath the paperwork and strategies, there lingered Reverend behind them, the night of blood, the sting of harsh words, and the unspoken bond that refused to die. Their conversations were careful, measured.
We'll need to be seen together. For unity's sake, I mean.
Of course. Just business.
The words said one thing, the stolen glances said another. Lorcas agreed to accompany them, not eager to advertise that he was now tied by marriage to House Splendor. The fewer people know I'm related to Lord Splendor, the fewer ask for favors. I'll stick to charming bard and detective for now. His mother, now Lady of Waterdeep, remained behind to keep the city in order. Meanwhile, Nozo joined Draco Splendor in escorting Lord Splendor himself. The old lord would not miss a reverie that might decide the fate of the world. And so, the pieces moved into place. At last, the time came. Across Waterdeep's harbor, sails unfurled like wings against the dawn. One ship bore Lord Splendor himself, attended by Draco Splendor and Nozo at his side. Below deck, secured in runes and steel, the Water Wish Ember pulsed with quiet, ocean blue light. A second ship carried Queen Anna Montavret, with Roseo and Lorcas asking as her escorts, their expressions careful, their hearts anything but. Memories of the Chateau de Huy lingered in all their minds, the last great gathering of rulers, and how Crocus had turned it into a blood-soaked nightmare. Yet they sailed anyway, because this time the stakes were greater. This time, the threat was not merely a dark lord in the flesh, but one still crawling his way back from a divine prison. The winds carried them west to Zelzabar, toward Visja Hall, toward the Butterfly Reverrie, where kings and queens and heroes would meet again to decide the fate of the Asha. Whatever awaited Hyperium there, political plots, divine grudges, or the shadow of Veldrin himself, they would face it together, as they always had.